Some of us are going to wake up Christmas morning and we're going to find a new rifle under the tree. And I have it on good authority that there might be one there for me also. Okay, should that happen, which often does, a lot of us are going to be needing some new accessories for those rifles. So scopes, rings, bases, ammo, slings, everything. And then some of you, maybe you're going to get new accessories and update an old rifle that you've got. Okay, so a lot of us might be looking for some accessories here real soon, and I'm looking for a few right now myself, just in case. So today, I'm going to go through my list of what I'm looking for: scope, bases, rings, slings, ammo, and so forth. Shop around and see what I can find. Okay, so choosing a scope. Oh, this is a tough one now. There's so many options. There's so many tube diameter options: 1 inch, 30 millimeter, 34 millimeter, objective lens diameters, 40, 45, 50, whatever you want. And then magnification options, low power, high power, and price. I mean, that's a huge one. All right, there's the cheapest scope on Amazon that I'm sure is under $100. And then there's absolutely as much as we want to pay for a scope. Okay, yeah, options. Okay, so I need to find a scope, and okay, this is my thought process. This is what I'm picking out for the rifle I might potentially get. Okay, and I'm not saying anybody else should think like I do on this. I'm old-fashioned. I know I'm old-fashioned, and I'm not keeping up with the times, but that's okay. Well, what I like works. All right, so I want lightweight. I want compact. I want reliable. I want it to hold zero and durable. I want it to last. That's all I'm looking for in a scope. And clear glass. Okay, for me, tube diameter. I want a 1 inch tube. I know there's 30 millimeter tubes, 34 millimeter tubes now, more light in, bigger picture. Okay, I get all that. But the bigger that tube diameter is, the bigger and heavier the scope gets. And usually the bigger the objective lens is going to be, which means the higher the scope is going to sit on the rifle. I want my scope to sit low, and again, I want it lightweight, unless I've got a rifle that I specifically want to add weight to that rifle to make it shoot better or something. Okay, and when you see those giant night force scopes on long-range target rifles and stuff, they want the weight. They're shooting extreme long ranges. They've got a heavy rifle to start with. Okay, well, that's not what I'm doing. So I want just a standard hunting scope. And as far as brands, there are so many good brands now. But what I tend to stick with, Leupold, Burris, Vortex. I mean, that's pretty much what I use. And I've said before, I loved my Redfields that Leupold was making. They discontinued them. No longer an option. These were just about perfect for me. And okay, let's start with magnification. And I'll use the magnification ranges these came in because it's simple, but what am I using the rifle for? Okay, I don't need a 30 power scope on a 22. I don't need a 30 power scope on a 30-30. All right, so if it's a short range rifle, I want a low power magnification scope. 2x8, something like that's perfect. 2x7. Okay, 150 yards and in, that's tough to beat right there. Okay, and the reason being is, forget about the upper end of magnification for a moment. We'll just get to that in a minute. On the lower end, if I'm really close, I want that low magnification so that when I look through the scope, I've got a really wide field of view. I can find the deer quick at close ranges. Okay, and that's important. Years ago, when I was, I don't know, 15, maybe 16, I had a 4x16 on my 303 British, and it actually cost me a really big deer back up in a swamp, really thick stuff. The deer came through, and he got behind some privy hedge, which is just really thick evergreen shrubs. I couldn't pick out the deer, what part of the deer I was seeing. Okay, even on 4 power, as close as he was with that thick stuff, I couldn't tell. I'm looking through holes in that stuff. And I couldn't tell, is that his shoulder? Is that his rear? And he was an absolute monster, and I didn't want to wound him, and I don't want to do that with any deer. So I ended up letting him walk through there, hoping I could get another shot at a different spot, and I didn't. He turned and never saw him again. I still have nightmares about that one. A 3x9, I'd have took that deer every day on 3 power, or a 2x8 would have even been better at that close range. Anyway, okay, so, and with the particular rifle that I might get, okay, well, this is going to be the opposite extreme. This is going to be perhaps an all-weather extreme long-range rifle. Or when I say extreme long-range, 400 yards is absolute max for me, and 300's pushing it. Okay, I need higher magnification for that than I would for a brush gun. Okay, and of course, if you want a versatile all-around, just do everything rifle that you're going to hunt in the brush a lot, 3x9x40. Where you occasionally have that longer shot, go to 9 power. If I'm going to be hunting woods and open areas, longer shots, and I know I'm going to have more longer shots, 4x12. Okay, and I can hit a deer all day long with 12 power scope, no problem. Here's a clip of me going out and shooting my Ruger number 1 with a 12 power scope, shooting a 6-inch plate at 300 yards unsupported. Okay, did you notice where the bullet impacted the target? It was low on the target, which is exactly where it should have hit, because I was using maximum point blank range. The bullet was dropping. I had my crosshairs dead center on that 6-inch piece of steel with no holdover. That's dead deer all day long. And that was unsupported shooting. Okay, so anyway, no problems at all seeing it 300 yards. The problem we can run into, especially when we get 300 yards to 400 or past, is identifying a deer. Okay, it can, if I want to take a doe at longer ranges, it can be really tough to tell the difference between a spike and a doe, or a button buck and a doe, even at 100 yards. Okay, so that's where the higher magnification can help us in identifying an animal, and just more details about it. It isn't putting the bullet where we need it. Okay, in this instance, I want a little higher magnification than 12 power. Okay, so looking through Midway's site, and I'm just using Midway. I shop at a lot of them. Brownells is great, Natchez, Midway, you name it. Local gun store is great, but the local gun shop here, they tend to cater to what most people want, which is the larger tube diameters and things like that. So that's why I don't shop there much, and I'm here. And I was just shopping around for scopes and looking at the different ones. And as far as brands, I just tend to like Leupold. Leupold's my absolute favorite. Vortex is good. I've been using quite a few of those lately. They work. And then Burris. I like Burris. Okay. So just looking at the different offerings here for what I'm wanting, well, the first thing that jumps out at me is just the price on the Leupolds. Okay, there's the Leupold Freedom. It's a perfectly good scope. But I can't get it in magnification over, I think it's 12 power. Yeah, they've got the 3x9, the 2x7, and the 4x12. Okay, I want a little higher magnification. Well, then that puts me into having to go up to the VX3, and those are just high. I mean, yeah, 4.5 to 14, I think is what I was seeing in it for a good magnification range for what I'm doing with this specific rifle. We're starting at $500. Okay, and then I see they've got the Vortex Diamondback HP on sale, $199.99. I'm leaning heavily towards the Vortex. I mean, and this is a 4x16 by 42 millimeter objective lens. 42, I like 40, 42 will be just fine. 4x16, That's my magnification range I'm looking for. It's, in my opinion, it is every bit as good of a scope as the loophole, but I don't like it nearly as good as the loophole. And the reason being, it's the sight picture. With the loophole, you've got your lens that you're looking at where you can see whatever out there that's magnified. With the loophole, there's not much black around that. Okay, so you throw it up and all you see is what you're looking at. With the vortex and just all of the others, all right, you see the little hole in the scope with whatever you're looking at, and then you see tons of black around it. I really prefer that on the loophole. I just don't prefer it $300 worth. Okay, and I really try hard not to buy a scope made in China, but the HPs are made in Philippines. I'm okay with that. The Filipinos don't like the Chinese and vice versa. I can handle supporting them. I just can't support those godless communist CCP. Okay, so I'm probably going with this Diamondback HP. That's just a lot of difference between price there. That's just what it comes down to on this. That's tough going $500 on the scope to get 14 power magnification, no parallax adjustment. And generally, I do not want a parallax adjustment. 9 out of 10 times I don't. But on this particular instance where I'm setting this up specifically for shooting out to say 400 yards maybe, which would be exceptionally rare but possible, I'm okay with the parallax adjustment for that. Okay, and were it not for that, I'd pay the extra and get the loophole to not have the parallax adjustment. Okay, just a standard out to 300 yard rifle, which is 99% of what I do in my rifles. I would take the loophole, I'd suck it up, and I'd pay the extra 300 bucks. Okay, so yes, I'm going with the Vortex, and I've already got one and tried it. It's a good scope. I mean, clear glass, it's reliable, it does what I need to do. Okay, so we scratch that off the list. Yeah, I've been making a list and checking it twice. Okay, and that's the one that hurts. That's still tough, even coming off $200, but that's way better than $5. Okay, and as far as bursts, they've made a lot of changes, and I was looking through them, and I didn't see anything that was just giving me that warm, fuzzy feeling. Okay, so now I need to get bases. Something else I didn't mention on scopes, I'm not adjusting my elevation. Okay, so I'm not clicking on the turrets and dialing them in. All right, if you're going to be making changes, you need a higher quality scope for that. You need something that's going to return to zero every time. It's going to move the exact amount of clicks you move it and that type thing. I would spend a little extra for that because it just requires a higher quality scope. Even with shooting out to 400 yards with the cartridge, I might potentially be getting this whatever rifle chambered in. I still wouldn't make any elevation changes. It's going to be a flat shooting cartridge probably. Okay, so bases. Okay, we got a lot of options here on bases. Do I want a one-piece base? Do I want a one-piece base with the rings built in? Two-piece bases? I mean, so many choices here. Okay, for what I'm going to do with said rifle that I might be getting, okay, and also setting up for longer ranges, and this is important here. I'm probably going to try to get a one-piece rail. I'm not a huge fan of the rails, but okay, the Vortex scope I just looked at. The scope tubes and the narrow part, the 1-inch part, they're not as long as they used to be. Okay, so we don't have as much room there to move the scope within the rings in a set place on the rifle to get it exactly where we want it. The rails, they do give us more options, more places to mount our rings. That is an advantage. Other than that, I would be going with worn bases and rings, two-piece bases. That's what I use on 90% of my rifles, and I've been very happy with them. Matter of fact, let's just narrow this down real quick and see if Warren even makes a one-piece base. Here we go, Warren Maxima one-piece steel. Steel bases add weight, but they also add rigidity. And one of the things I'm going to be shooting for with this rifle is accuracy. It doesn't have as many adjustment slots as, say, a standard rail, but it does have 2 front and back, and I think that's going to be plenty. Okay, I was not seeing exactly what I wanted at Midway's website, so I went and doing some research, and I went to Warren's website, and I found a one-piece rail here that I think is going to work. Okay, and said rifle that might be waiting for me might be a Remington 700. I was surprised at how few options there were for a long action 700. Tons of options for short action, but okay, I think this is going to work here though. Remington long action Mountain Tech tactical rail. I hate the term tactical, but anyway. $86.99, that's steep for a base, at least for me, but I saved enough on the scope that I think that'll cover it, so I'll do some shopping later on that and see what I can't find on that. I'm sure there's some cheaper prices out there on it. This is the MSRP at $86.99. Okay, so next up, I need some rings, and I'm definitely going with Warren rings on that, and I'll be going with the Maxima rings. I'll double check and make sure those work with this base, but I'm sure they will. For the rings, I'm looking at the Warren Maxima horizontal permanent attachable Weaver style scope rings, and I need to double check and make sure that rail is also Weaver style, not Picatinny. Okay, and as far as height, okay, this is tricky because I don't have said rifle, so with the 42 millimeter objective and with the rail, I'm pretty sure I can do lows on this and it shouldn't be a problem. If it was any bigger than 42, I'd probably need to go larger. Generally, the rails sit a little higher, so the only question is, will I have enough clearance at the end of the rail, I guess, but I think we're going to be good with lows. Okay, I could get mediums just in case, but yeah, we'll try lows. I might have to send them back. All right, so that's going to be $59.49. Okay, a sling. Okay, I have a sling on hand that's just going to be perfect for this, and we all have our own preference on slings, but I do Gun Blue 490. He's got a video on the old M1 sling. I got to give him credit. That is a good sling. The cotton doesn't slide like the polyester nylon slings. It stays on your shoulder. Leather, I use leather a lot, but it does add weight. So that'd be a good option, and I think that would work really well with this specific rifle, should it show up. And y'all will see why, maybe, later on. Next up, ammo. Ooh, this is a tough one. It's not tough, it's finding exactly what we want and then having to pay for it that's tough. Okay, if you were getting just a brand new to you, completely new to you rifle, do your research, figure out what bullet weight and all that for what you're doing, or at least what I would recommend, what I would do for myself personally. I would get 2 or 3 boxes of factory ammo if I were going to shoot factory ammo. And then when I got it set up, go to the range and shoot all 3 types and see which shoots best. Okay, for myself, this particular rifle that I might be there waiting for me, okay, it might be chambered in a cartridge or a caliber that I already have bullets for, not the cartridge. Okay, so I've got a few options on hand as far as reloading, and so I do want to get another type bullet to try in this specific rifle, and I've already looked around and actually found a pretty good deal on those on Gunbroker. Okay, so my bullets, I'm good, and I went with a ballistic tip, 140 grain. Okay, brass. Brass isn't too easy to come by for this particular cartridge right now, but there is some here on Midway, and it's normal brass. And they're running about $60 for 50 cases. That's a little steep, but I'm going to have to do it. Powder. I haven't selected the loads I want to try for this yet. So I'll do some more research tonight. I mean, I've got powders on hand that would work, but I want to do some more research on this one, and I want to see if I can't come up with a couple of really good loads I just want to try. Okay, and in this case, because it's going to be a longer range rifle, setting it up for that, I want some velocity. Okay, so yeah, I'll do my research on that tonight, and hopefully I've already got that powder on hand. And I don't have the dies for that cartridge, but I know somebody who does, I think. So I'm good on the dies. Okay, so right now, just a rough estimate, what I'm looking at for accessories. This is not including powder, and I already have primers. I'm looking at about $437. That's why I couldn't go with the $500 loophole. Okay, if I'd have done that, then that would be $737 on this instead of $437. These accessories get expensive. All right, with that said, we want our rifles like we want them. We're going to use them a long time. We want them set up right. Okay, if I were in the woods on the scope, if I were in the woods, needed to get on an animal quick, that type of thing, I'd go on and suck it up and get the loophole for that, just because I like that field of vision so much better than vortex or burst. Okay, with this being a longer range rifle, I'm never going to rush a shot at longer ranges, ever. Okay, so I'm going to take my time. If I don't have time to make the shot at the longer distances, then I just don't make the shot. Okay, so I can go with the scope that I can't pick up on the animal as quick, and I'm comfortable with that. I've got the time, or I'm going to have the time, so it's not going to be an issue. In that vortex, it's going to work for what I'm doing with this rifle. It sounds like the rain has arrived for us. Good thing I finished up my shopping. I'll double check everything on my list anyway, make sure it's all exactly like I want it, and go ahead and place my order. Just in case such a rifle shows up Christmas morning, I'll have the stuff for it. Okay, and I remember 10 years old, getting up Christmas morning and getting my very first centerfire rifle, lever action 30-30 Winchester Model 94. And my dad carrying me to the range Christmas Day to go shoot it. It was cold that day, but I enjoyed it. Okay, well, that was a simple rifle, and all I needed to go shoot it that day was the ammo. Okay, well, rifles aren't quite as simple now, so we need all of our accessories, and we need to order them now if we want to be able to carry our new firearm out Christmas Day to shoot it, or if we're getting one for someone else, and hey, maybe they want to shoot it Christmas Day. Okay, and keep in mind, shipping times are a little longer than normal right now. Those poor postal workers and delivery drivers and all that, they're busy. So yeah, shipping times are a little slower now. So we do need to order our accessories now if we want to have everything ready Christmas Day. Okay, now the 303, the Ruger number 1 and 303, hadn't forgot about it. I've got something special we're going to try next weekend for that. I got powders on the way, and that one should be interesting. Okay, we'll see you next time, and God bless, and have a great day, and I hope you're starting to enjoy the holiday.